ReconAthlete.com podcast is brought to you by Lawnman ATX and Kreitz Market.
Oh, no.
Sorry, guys. Damn. Oh, my God.
It's not your fault.
Damn, dude.
It's not your fault.
So we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Good.
ReconAthlete.com podcast, episode 30. Chris Sanchez, Paul Rodriguez. Shout out to Zach Lucero. I don't know where he's at, but you know we'll get there. We'll get there going at some point. Stefano Sanchez is here with us tonight or today.
Yeah, today. Hey, y'all. How's it going?
My phone keeps making noises, and I'm trying to get it to turn off. We're going to go over last night's football games, high school. Paul, you went out to Rockdale. Kind of a drive out there, huh?
Rockdale Tiger Stadium. Yeah, it was about an hour and a half from the house. But we got to go out there. Papa Romeo was tagging along, doing the driving, the hard part. Appreciate that, Dad. He gave us a little bit of what he thought for the recap for the game last night. And, Dad, take it away.
Hello, son. Thanks for having me on again. And yes, sir, what a football game we had last night out in Rockdale, Texas, between Flatonia and Bremond. These two teams slugged it out all night long on the field, and at the end of 4, it was 35 up, so they had to go into overtime. Bremond pulled it out in overtime with a touchdown. Nonetheless, the Flatonia Bulldogs can return home with their heads held up high. These young men left it all out on the field last night. Cameron Becker had another fantastic game. So did DeCorey Willis. I wish these outgoing seniors the best of luck in their future endeavors. Now the Flatonia Bulldogs are going to return a lot of players, especially a lot of young players. There's a lot of sophomores on this team, including Dylan Schaefer and Dalton Otto. There's also a lot of freshmen, and of course there's a handful of juniors that are going to have to take leadership roles next year. So I predict they'll come back onto the gridiron and show well again and have another fantastic season. So again, my hat's off to the Flatonia Bulldogs and Flatonia, Texas.
Rough night for the Bulldogs. They had this game in control the whole first half. Came up a little bit short towards the end. There were some opportunities for them to close out the Bremond Tigers, but again, game got called a real iffy penalty by the officials. They may have been in their feelings a little bit just by maybe some things that were said that they just felt a little something about, you know. But the call got the penalty extended the drive for Bremond. They tied up the game 35-all, goes into OT. Flatonia held without a touchdown or a field goal. They went for it on 4th and long, came up a little bit short. Bremond, a lot of athletic talent on that end. Their big-time back, number 9 for Bremond, kind of broke out a huge run, scored the touchdown, 41-35. Bremond advances. They're going to play Falls City next week here in Austin or in Pflugerville at the field. Flatonia did a tremendous job. I just wanted to shout out Aiden Gonzalez and Ricky Oliveris. They played a really great game, in addition to the names that my dad had listed out. Flatonia, it's been a great run. You had an amazing run for the 2019 season. Lots of underclassmen, like my dad was saying, that are going to be returning next year. They were very grateful for Recon Athletes to give them the love and the attention all year long. Shout out to Coach Freytag. Your crew did a good job last night, just a little bit short, but we're very proud of the Flatonia Bulldogs, and we look forward for the future to come. Yeah,
and shout out to the Becker family, Lawman ATX, of course, a proud sponsor of Recon Athlete, and it was great to get to know the Flatonia Bulldogs, and it sounds like they've got a bright future, and hopefully Recon Athlete will still be hanging out in Flatonia next year.
We will definitely see how things fare, but I like our chances.
All right, and it was a rough game last night. You said before we came on air, you might give a little bit of criticism. I didn't really hear it.
Yeah.
Are you going to?
I'm going to give criticism to the officiating.
Okay.
That's really what was the turning point.
Yeah.
Like I said, Flatonia had their opportunities to close out the game. Just couldn't get it done. But what really pushed this game into overtime was a huge a dead ball foul, personal foul against Flatonia that extended Bremond's drive to let them get into the end zone late of the game. All right. And that's really what it came down to.
All right. It was a shout out to, once again, Flatonia Bulldogs, Chris Becker and the Becker family. All right. Also, yesterday, Lake Travis 52, Westlake 17, Westlake 45, Westlake East 14. Do we really even need to talk about those games at all? I mean, Ryan Lindley did his thing for Westlake. Lake Travis was kind of slow starting. I think it was 3-3 after the first quarter.
Yeah.
And then I think halftime was like 31-3.
Yeah.
So
y'all go to reconathlete.com and you can see the regional final matchups. We have them posted for y'all. So if y'all need directions or locations, go ahead and check that out, reconathlete.com.
Go ahead and read them out there, Paul.
So let me go ahead and get that started. Next week, 6A Division I, Lake Travis taking on Converse Judson, 4 p.m. Saturday at the Alamo Dome. Westlake will be taking on San Antonio Brandeis, 7:30 Friday at the Alamo Dome. Also next week, did we cover that Maynard game yet?
Not yet, but
So
go ahead.
Let's go ahead and
mention
segue.
it.
Maynard going ahead and getting that big W over Cedar Park last night, 17-14. They advance. They will be taking on Alvin Shadow Creek at noon next Saturday at the Alamo Dome. And how about Wamm Nation showing up? Everybody making plays. I saw two big trickeration plays.
Yeah.
That old hook and lateral gets things done.
Yeah, shout out to the Maynard Mustangs. Big 17-14 winners over Cedar Park. And we caught up with Snoop Daniel earlier this morning, fan stand ATX. And this is what he had to say about the game last night.
Well, I got to say, shock. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because when I saw Maynard beat Fort Bend Marshall in 2012 in the Alamo Dome, I was shocked. I mean, Fort Bend Marshall had all the pedigree, the tradition and whatnot, same as Cedar Park. So, and I really felt like it was either going to be a Cedar Park blowout of Maynard, or it was going to be a close win and Maynard could have a chance to pull it out, not even necessarily win, but they did. Justin Bohr, the end of the second quarter really was the game. There was a situation where Cedar Park got, I think, 2 different penalties inside the 10-yard line, so they basically had like 8 shots at the end zone. And shout out to the Maynard defense for holding them scoreless in that moment, because Justin Bohr, who's normally what they call this guy Money Bohr, he misses a field goal that seemed pretty money for him normally. It bounces off the right upright, and it goes into half 7-0. And then it was just a Taj Brooks show to open up the third quarter. I mean, they just gave it to this man 8 times. He took it in on a 3-yard run. Tamara Hauser actually slammed him to the ground as he was trying to reach the ball over the end zone. And that's when the game really started to get chippy, because Taj, normally really cool-headed, actually got up, and he was still cool-headed and walked away. But that made the intensity of Maynard turn up even more. The fact that they gave up that touchdown on offense with the Cedar Park Black Rain defense taking the ball in, I think that was Ben Bell, who's a future D1 player who scored that touchdown. The fact that Maynard did not allow Cedar Park to score since the Josh Cameron touchdown with 4:44 left to go in the second quarter. I mean, Maynard defense, Taj Brooks, and Shane and Wabuku finding Colchester. I mean, that's the little brother of Chooks and Wabuku, who we saw for Texas Tech, used to play for Hutto. Wabuku family dynasty is now at Maynard. His dad, Chooks Sr., played at Maynard. I'm excited, man. And last night, an epic thriller. Definitely the best game I saw all 2019.
Big win for Maynard. They advanced 17-14 over Cedar Park last night. Snoop, appreciate the recap on that game, and we'll look forward to seeing more from you and from Fanstan ATX. Thank you.
Man, let's beat Shadow Creek, baby.
Yeah, shout out to Wamm Nation. They are playing Shadow Creek next week. Once again, where was that at, Paul?
That's going to be noon Saturday at the Alamo Dome.
All right, noon Saturday at the Alamo Dome. My bad. I didn't have your link. One more
It's all
time.
good. Yeah. Next Saturday at noon at the Alamo Dome. So
Sorry, I'm doing too many things. We need a producer.
We do.
Stefan, I'm going to teach you how to do this stuff.
Sounds good.
Wamm Nation, though.
Yeah.
Loving it.
I mean, go ahead.
Called that upset this past Wednesday.
You called it. I just kind of went with it.
Well, I just felt that finally Maynard was hitting their stride, especially last week in that area championship, and I was just like, man, they got a lot of momentum carried into that Cedar Park matchup. And I know, look, we all know how that district shakes out is with Cedar Park and Maynard having to play each other. But goodness gracious, I think the coaches really took a lot of that, because that game was low scoring. And I was mentioning this on the messenger. I'm like, what is going on at the field with Maynard and Cedar Park? And looking back last night, there was a lot of fog. I'm sure the conditions were extremely kind of hot and humid with this front that came through and kind of messed up the weather patterns. It's Texas. never has a mind. Has a mind of its own.
Right.
Never going to be consistent.
No.
So shout out to Wamm Nation. I felt like they had the momentum and a couple of big plays, trickeration. Che and Wabuka with that pass to get them in the end zone. That was awesome. And there going to be some rumblings. He may challenge for QB1 next year, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, when we're still got another game to go and hopefully a few more games for the Maynard Mustangs. But they are running into Shadow Creek, and we saw what Shadow Creek can do. They put a beat down on the Hutto a couple of weeks ago. So, but this is a different Maynard Mustangs team at this point. They're very different. When they had lost to the big three in their district, Cedar Park, Georgetown, and Hutto, they had a lot of injuries going on. They just really weren't cohesive at all.
Right.
So and Coach Mitchell talked about that. He was like, when we played those games a few weeks ago, we weren't healthy. We just weren't the same team as we are right now. That was like a month ago now.
Right.
So Maynard Mustangs, just riding those. The stable of backs that they have, Taj Brooks with 29 carries, 132 yards, and a touchdown, 4.5 yards per attempt average. I mean, that's all they did in that second half. They just gave the ball to Taj and let him lead the Mustangs to victory.
The biggest thing that I thought that I'm taking away from Snoop's breakdown last night was how he would stay composed and Cedar Park does like to get in your head and they try to throw you off their game, but shout out to, the coaching staff to keep those young men disciplined in the right frame of mind and to be grinders, because games like this are hard to win, especially against opponents like Cedar Park, because they're used to playing high level competition, especially earlier in the year as they did this past year and the year before. But to stay composed and for Maynard to be in within themselves and play their style of play and not get out of themselves, I thought was tremendous for them last night. Big W over Cedar Park.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if you go to reconathlete.com, once again, you can go and see where these games are going to be. But one more time, Paul, run those down for us is for people that are just joining the live stream.
So we're going to come in. We're going to start 6A D1. Lake Travis versus Converse Judson. Excuse me about that. Lake Travis versus Converse Judson, 4 p.m. Saturday at the Alamo Dome. Westlake taking on San Antonio Brandeis, 7:30 p.m. Friday at the Alamo Dome. 5A Division I, Shadow Creek versus Maynard, noon Saturday at the Alamo Dome. We're still waiting for that Bremond, Corpus Christi, Calallen. That'll be happening tonight.
All right, and good luck to all the teams next week. And hopefully we'll be talking about, all these teams for another few weeks going towards the state championships. All right, well, let's go ahead and we'll talk a little bit about some college and then the NFL. Went to the game yesterday. Went to go see the Longhorns play Texas Tech. It didn't start out too well, and they fell 14-0 in the first quarter. I thought it was going to be a long day. I even posted about it on Instagram. I put a picture of DKR, and I was like, "Don't make me go home early, Horns."
I did see that, and I was like, "Well, the way it started out, it seemed like Chris is going to be leaving at halftime."
Yeah,
and I just don't understand the script. It's like every week. It's down 10 or 14 before we start playing ball. I just don't understand that.
Yeah, and they seemed just not into it. It took a quarter. It took I think the whole first quarter for the Longhorns to like wake up. I mean, and I even mentioned it too. I was you're a fan in the stands, and I'm like yelling at the players, and like at one point, I mean, it was the end of the first quarter, and like there was a couple of Texas defenders that were like hands on hips. Like already like looking tired. And I'm like, this is the first quarter. Like, come on, fellas. Like, pick it up a little bit. If it's fourth quarter and you've been playing all game and, Tech's good, like they're on their like, ninth or 10th drive. Yeah, I understand hands on hips. I understand that. I mean, you're going to be tired at that point. But first quarter, like second or third drive, I mean, that was no time for them to be tired at that point. But I think as soon as the Longhorns scored that first touchdown, and granted they missed the extra point, which is kind of a fumbled snap. It was a weird thing that happened, but as soon as that got that touchdown, it really turned the momentum, and the Longhorns just kind of ran away with this one. Tech just playing Tech defense, not really playing defense at all, and Longhorns with the 49-24 win over the Red Raiders. It was a great win, but it's also a win where it's like you're supposed to win that game.
Yeah, especially by that. And what I saw was the leadership finally click in with Sam Ellinger and Duvernay. That connection started to start rolling. And I was like, okay, maybe this is what they were just missing and needing. And, I saw Eagle get involved a little bit, number 13 for the Horns receiver. And as soon as the momentum picked up, that's when you could see, like, okay, the defense was like, okay, well, the offense is scoring. Let's go start playing our game. And that's the biggest thing that I took away. It does take a while to get started for them, but once they get going like a diesel engine, they finished out strong.
Yeah, they did. And, I'm not sure what's next for the Longhorns, but
7-5 and some kind of small bowl.
Some kind of bowl. I know we mentioned Texas Bowl possibly against the Aggies. Aggies playing LSU today. I'm not really interested in seeing that. It's kind of one of those. Well, if the Longhorns, if this was like a big bowl, if it was like a New Year's Eve or a New Year's Day bowl game, yeah, all for it, because that would mean that both these teams are on their A game. They're ready. They're playing at their top level, and it'll be fun to watch. At this point right now, and I'm not really saying anything about the Aggies because, they've lost. They've had 4 losses, but, their losses are all to top 10 teams. And they're playing another top 10 team, the number 1 team in LSU today. Was it number 1 or number 2?
They're number 2, but
that's right.
It's 1A, 1B.
1A, 1B, right. And I tell you what, I think right now at this point, Longhorns versus Aggies game, I'm taking Aggies. I think the Aggies will win that football game.
You're that set. You're on the Horns just being
underperforming
so much at this point that you're thinking it would be a huge embarrassing loss.
I don't think it. No, I'm not saying it's an embarrassing loss. I think that the Aggies, they probably wouldn't be favored, but they should be favored. Stefano, you want to say something?
Boo. Boo.
You never really see the thumbs down too much. You see the horns down.
That's just my thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. But listen, the Aggies have done an okay job. And I think piggybacking what Zach said on Wednesday, they're ascending right now. And Horns are kind of just being stagnant. And we'll see if maybe the coaches can regain that locker room. If they've lost it, I'm not sure. I'm not in the locker room. But a lot of people around the program are saying that there's some things that are just not cohesive right now, and that stuff needs to get repaired in the offseason for them to be successful, because expectations at UT are national championship or bust. And right now they just need to get to a Big 12 championship.
The thing is, their goals, to me, I don't know what their goals were as a team, but, one of them is obviously, the ultimate goal is a national championship, Big 12 championship, going, descending order, beating OU.
Yeah.
Beating LSU would have been a goal this year. Winning all the games that you're supposed to win. Those goals, in my mind, I'm thinking about it, they didn't reach any of those goals this year.
Not even close.
And that's a problem for me. And our other cousin, Jeremy DeLeon, shout out Jeremy. He put on commented on my Instagram post from Darrell K. Royal Stadium, and he was like, Texas is back and whatever,
I saw that.
I was like, LOL, you got jokes, cuz. All right. Yeah, thanks a lot. So shout out Jeremy, shout out the DeLeon family. They all a lot of them went to A&M in the core, Joseph and all of them. So shout out to y'all. But yeah, I'm not interested in that game, and I'm not interested in. I'm interested to see what the Longhorns do next year. Sam's obviously going to come back because he's not going to go to the NFL. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback at this point. Maybe another year of development.
Yeah, he needs some refinement.
That would help and make him an NFL quarterback. So give him another year. And I tell you what, maybe next year, maybe. Let's give Jimbo another year, give Tom Herman another year, give both of these teams another year to develop, and maybe if they're 10-1 or 10-2, 11-1, yeah, let's meet, let's put them on the field together. Maybe they'll maybe not be in the college football playoff bowl game, but they might be in another big bowl game. Then I'd be interested.
I'm tired of hearing next year. For both these teams, I'm just tired of hearing, oh, well, next year. Oh, well, Herman. Oh, well, Jimbo. You know what? Perform.
Right.
Perform, and we will have to talk about you being in a Texas Bowl, 7-5, 8-4. Well, it's going to be 7-4 after today, or 8-4. Anyways, point is, these two big schools in Texas are getting outshined by small market teams like Baylor and SMU, and that's just embarrassing.
Yeah.
I rarely agree with you, Paul, but yeah, I gotta agree with you on that.
Thank you, Stefano. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And Stefano, I mean, you're a Longhorn fan, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Your just thoughts on the season. I mean, were you as disappointed as I was?
I feel like you felt goals weren't met,
Yeah.
and as a fan, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, and that's the way I felt, man. I was just like, I was just kind of like, I mean, and yesterday was fun. I mean, we went out there and it was a good game, and the weather was kind of, the weather could have been better. But it was good to see them win a football game at home. They kind of, like I said, they were down early, but they fought back. That's what was good to see out of this Longhorns team is like in past years, they wouldn't have fought back. Like they would have just rolled over. But I think this year's team, at least if one of their goals is to be resilient, they've been resilient in these football games. They didn't actually win a lot of them, but they've, fought back and tried to get into these or back into the game and, never really got blown out, per se. I mean, they got outplayed. For sure. But they never really got blown out. So we'll see. Shout out to Longhorns. We'll see what kind of bowl game they're going to get into. I don't even really I'm not even excited about it.
It's a yawn for me.
It's not even exciting.
It's a yawn for me.
Yeah. So all right, ReconAthlete.com podcast episode 30, Dirty 30. It's been dirty. We've had a little mishap earlier.
Yeah, you'll catch the intro. We had some resistance this morning. Anyways,
yeah.
Check out the upload to the YouTube, and you'll hear rather what we experienced this morning.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to NFL. Dallas Cowboys with the loss to the Buffalo Bills, 26-15.
Called it.
We called it here.
Yeah. We
were like, yeah, I'm taking the Bills.
But I told you it was going to be a big upset. And this score is misleading because Buffalo dominated this game from start to finish.
They did. And, that last touchdown just kind of,
Yeah.
It didn't mean anything.
Garbage time.
So, and then, of course, right afterwards, Jerry Jones is like, you know what? Now's not the time. I'm not going to do anything now to fire Jason Garrett, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. But we called it on we talked about that on Wednesday in episode 29. I was like, they're not going to fire him now.
See, I think they did fire him. They're just not making the announcement until after the season. The reason I bring that up is because there was reports Ed Warder Jerry Jones had come out of the coach's locker room teary-eyed and red-faced, and to me that was a sign that he may have made a big decision and let the coaches know, look, after the season you're done, and right now we're not going to make any changes because Jerry Jones is a Jason Garrett fan. He's known him since he was a player coming out of Princeton with the Dallas Cowboys, backing up Troy Aikman in the 90s. And I'm pretty sure Jerry wants to save face. He'll say, look, we're not going to renew the contract. We'll be an amicable separation.
Yeah.
And you can go your separate ways, and we'll bring in a new regime to run the Dallas Cowboys with the head coaching.
And, of course, everybody's talking Lincoln Riley. I know you've talked about Lincoln Riley, the head football coach for OU, maybe possibly taking over. But, honestly, I'm as a Cowboys fan, I don't know if I want a rookie head coach.
Jimmy Johnson worked out pretty good.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to put Lincoln Riley on Jimmy
Barry
Johnson.
Switzer worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
It was Jimmy's team, but Barry guided him.
But the
rookie head coaches coming down from college. Makes a lot of sense. It's worked in the past.
It has, but that team also had Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin.
And the team was built, besides Irvin and Troy, that team was built by Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, and they had a awesome offensive line, Leon Lett, that team was very much different than this Dak Prescott led team. We have to say that.
It was the pre-cap era, so there were no caps back then. So basically, however much money you had is that you could spend. Now we're doing things a little bit differently. But every year, gone by the previous CBA, that the cap is growing every single year. So if you have more money to spend, maybe they can make some moves, bring in some different players. But for the Cowboys to be successful, they need to shore up the safety position and the DB position, because that's their biggest holes, and hopefully they can bring in a coach that can rein all of the talented stars on offense and have them work as one to get, to be elite, because right now they're average.
And the linebacker position, by the way.
Besides Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith is the only good linebacker. I know Van Der Esch didn't play. Sean Lee did okay, but yeah, I mean, Buffalo Bills pretty much did what they wanted.
Josh Allen ran the ball like I said he would, and he scored with his feet and scored with his arm. And for some reason, man, Dallas didn't show up.
Yeah, they didn't. And you know what? The one takeaway that I got from this game, kind of a oddball takeaway, kind of, you know, I think field goal kickers need to be paid more money.
Why?
Because it's very difficult
because they're all missing
to kick a field goal.
Yeah.
So if you can find a field goal kicker that is consistent and can put points on the board, you got to pay that guy.
Yeah.
You know, and I realize, you know, it's a position where, you know, one game to the next could be completely different. I mean, you never know where that ball's going to go. But if you can find a good, consistent field goal kicker, I mean, that does a lot for you. I mean, look what it's done for the Ravens. I know Justin Tucker's had kind of a not a great year, but you know, he's been there for the past few years.
Yeah.
They drafted him, you know, out of Texas, but we talk about it. I mean, we talked about it on FanStan ATX when we were, you know, hosting that show,
right,
and how pivotal the kicking game is. And we saw it on Thursday.
Well, Thursday night there was 3 field goals missed and 1 extra point, and I'm going to credit the missed extra points to the rule changes that the NFL handed down a couple of years ago, and that's what they wanted because they wanted teams to go for 2 late, like Dallas did to get the 16 points, or excuse me, the 15 points, and it's going to be more difficult. And I agree with you, Chris, 100%. If you have kickers that are coming out of nowhere and they're efficient. And let's say they can knock them down from 50 on in, you got to pay them either bigger signing bonuses or you need to pay them bigger contracts over the long haul with guaranteed money.
I think maybe signing bonus, but I think maybe incentives. Like, you know, if you have a certain field goal percentage, if you have, you know, you kick a 40-yarder, you kick a 50-yarder, you know, stuff like that. So, like, you know, if you kick a game-winning, you know, game-winning field goal, you get, you know, this $100,000 bonus. I mean, like, incentivize, you know, that contract for these field goal kickers, because I mean it's huge. I mean, it really would have. I mean, to me, it would have kind of changed the face of the game with the Cowboys, you know, and the Bills if Maher could, you know, hit a couple extra field goals.
Right.
But you know, I realize that the GMs and the owners in the NFL aren't going to want to give, you know, field goal kicker big contracts. But if you throw some incentives in there, you know, maybe that'll be a way to, you know, help these field goal kickers maybe, you know, concentrate a little bit more.
We shall see.
All right, and then there was also other Thursday games, Chicago and Detroit. The Bears 24-20 over the Lions. The Detroit Lions, another –
Snorefest.
It was just another close game that the Lions lost. They've lost a lot of close games this year. And then New Orleans 26, Atlanta 18. I didn't really watch a lot of that game.
Well, this game, the Saints had covered until the last 3 minutes of the game. Atlanta goes for an onside kick, recovers. Go down, score. Onside kick again, recover. Go down, kick a field goal, take away the 10-point spread that the Saints had locked up. And the bookies made a lot of money that night. So shout out to the bookies if you made money. But, geez, the boys in the desert got it wrong. Saints 26, Falcons 18. Drew Brees did his thing that night. I don't know, man. I don't know what's wrong with the Falcons. I think they're along the lines like Dallas. You know, you got a really good quarterback, above average quarterback, baller, you know, receiver in Julio Jones, but their defense just can't stop anybody.
No, not at all. And we'll go quickly with these games tomorrow. I know we talked about them on Wednesday. We'll see if any of our thoughts about any of these games has changed. But, you know, before we get out of here for episode 30, New York at Cincinnati. Do you have these lines on?
I do.
All right, you go. You lead it, Paul.
So we'll take off with the Jets at Bengals. Jets 3-point favorite. I think that's the same.
Yeah.
Titans at Colts. Line has changed. Indy -1.5.
Okay.
I think it was 2.5 last Wednesday.
Yeah.
Eagles at Dolphins. Philly 10-point favorite. Still the same on that one. Packers at Giants. Oh, I think this one's changed. Green Bay -6.5.
Okay.
That's a little bit different. Browns, huge rematch. Browns at Steelers. Cleveland, 2-point favorite.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think that one's moved quite a bit.
Yeah.
Redskins at Panthers. Carolina, 10-point favorite. Buccaneers at Jaguars. Tampa Bay -2.5. Huge matchup. Noon. I don't know why this game's at noon. Probably because it's on the East Coast. 49ers at Ravens. Baltimore, 5.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't have flexed that one to.
I would love to see that one Sunday night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rams at Cardinals. Rams 3-point favorite. It's pretty much a coin toss there.
Yeah.
Chargers at Broncos -3.5 for the Chargers. I don't know what they know.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't because I just think the Broncos are going to play a lot better at home.
It's Vegas.
Raiders at Chiefs. Kansas City 11-point favorite. That went up 1 point.
Yeah.
Interesting. Texans. Patriots at Texans. Sunday night. New England 3-point favorite. That's still the same.
Yeah, that's.
They're saying Deshaun Watson's going to have something to say that night.
Yeah.
I think, but
It's hard to bet against the New England Patriots, so I don't
anywhere.
want to put any money anywhere near the New England Patriots. I just don't.
I'm going to take.
They're bad
Houston.
luck for
I'm gonna
me.
Take Houston +3. I'm going to take that.
All right, and Monday night.
That's a Sunday night game. Monday night game. Vikings at Seahawks. Seahawks 3-point favorite at home.
That's it.
Russell Wilson could have another MVP moment here if they can knock off the Vikings at home. 8-3, 9-2. People are trying to jockey for that wild card position, so we'll see how it fares out.
All right, so Cowboys already played. Obviously, we talked about that game, and
They got 10 days off.
yeah,
Do something with it.
try to get better.
Try to do something. They take on the Bears next week, so hopefully that's a W. Hopefully.
I don't know.
It's in Chicago too.
Yeah, I did hear. I usually don't listen to sports talk radio, but I mean, I was listening to something the other day, and it was on Sirius XM, and there was a host on there. Who was it? Lance Meadow was totally trying to put the Cowboys' woes on the players and not Jason Garrett, and it was the craziest thing. I remember just thinking to myself, listening to this guy. He's actually a great host, great radio host. And I was like, is this guy just like trying to be, the devil's advocate here? Because it just seemed forced. And I was just like, man, I can't say that it's the player's execution. I mean, there is, execution problems. But I mean, it has to start somewhere, right? It starts with Jason Garrett. I mean, and I haven't been a Jason Garrett fan for many years, and we'll hopefully not have to see him coaching on the sidelines next year.
Side note, there was some yelling coming out of the locker room after the Dallas game. Apparently it was Michael Bennett trying to rally the team. I tell you what, if Jerry Jones wanted to implement a Super Bowl winning caliber player who's an alpha, is his own man, that's the guy you bring in. Yeah,
definitely. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. ReconAthlete.com podcast episode 30. We want to shout out to, of course, Kreitz Market and Lawnman ATX, the Becker family over there in Flatonia. Shout out the Bulldogs.
Yep.
Of course, shout out Wamm Nation, Lake Travis, Westlake. Moving on, you can find all that information on ReconAthlete.com. We've got the game times and the schedules for next week, and we even got some Austin area games going on. So, Stefano, I know you didn't really say much, but thanks for hanging out with us.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me, y'all. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing the treats. What did you bring us, by the way?
Oh yeah, we got all kinds of goodies in here.
What you got?
A black gold cookie here, a little bit of chocolate chip cookie, and some lemon buttermilk pound cake.
Shout out where you picked that up.
Yeah, where'd you get that?
I got this from the Upper Crust Bakery right up the street, y'all.
Oh yeah, over here on Burnett Road. Man, I got so many places that like Stefano drives in from Kyle, and he goes to all these places that are around me, and I'm like, oh, what is that? And he's like, yeah, it's right around the corner. I'm like, oh, okay.
You need to check them out.
Yeah, I've never been there.
Shout out Upper Crust Bakery. Want to close this out?
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all are enjoying this podcast, please like, subscribe, share this if you're on Facebook Live with your friends, and we'll let you know when we upload. Hit that notification bell on YouTube. We out.